Hi, this is Mr. Guy, and I'm going to be going over the aggregate supply to model and also the Phillips Curve model, putting them side by side and showing some shifts from the aggregate supply to the Phillips Curve and see how they relate to each other. So this is the model of the aggregate supply, aggregate demand curve. So we've got price level over here. We've got real output and GDP over here. We've got long run aggregate supply curve. It's at full employment at 4 to 6%. And then we have the short run aggregate supply curve over here. We have aggregate demand flowing down here. And this is kind of like at full employment, this is equilibrium. So then over here, I've got the Phillips curve. So I've got inflation on this side, and then I've got unemployment over here. I've got the long run Phillips curve at full employment at about 4 to 6%. And then this is showing the short run Phillips curve, which has the inverse relationship, the short run, if you trade off between inflation and unemployment. So basically what we're going to see here right now is what we're going to have is aggregate demand is going to shift down, and we're going to have like consumer confidence goes down, and I'm going to shift that, and then I'm going to show you what's going to happen on the Phillips curve. So I labeled the points A is at equilibrium, and then we go down and it shifts down this way. And this is a decrease in aggregate demand due to the consumer confidence. And we're going to B, and this is a recessionary gap. And we started at full employment, we went to recessionary gap. Now on the Phillips curve, we're starting here, A at full employment, and then it's a recessionary gap. So we're gonna move down here to point B. And that is where there's more unemployment, less inflation. This is a recessionary gap, and this is showing a recessionary gap on the Phillips curve. Now say I overshot it, say I did a tax cut, and I did tax incentives, and I did government spending, and I did a huge stimulus package to get out of this recessionary gap, and say I went a little bit too far. So that is where I then stimulated with government spending and probably tax cuts with consumer spending, aggregate demand increased quite a bit, and it went to aggregate demand 2. So this is now going into the inflationary gap. We're going into this part where prices are going up and unemployment is going down. Now, where would it be here on the Phillips curve? That would be point C, would be the inflationary gap. So we have more inflation and less unemployment. So when we're shifting the aggregate demand curve, we are only moving up and down in line on the Phillips curve. So no matter where you are, and if you're changing aggregate demand, if we're shifting aggregate demand, say let's do another shift for aggregate demand, let's increase it some more. So and in this case, we're then moving up the line, getting more inflation, less unemployment, and we're going there. So the first one went to here, then we went to here, and then we went to there. So when we shift aggregate demand, we're just moving along the line on the Phillips curve. Now I'm going to be showing you what happens when we shift aggregate supply, what happens to the short run Phillips curve and the long run Phillips curve doing that. Thank you very much, and have a good day now.